Are we filming? Yes, we are. Yes, we absolutely are filming. So, let me show you something. This is a budget alternative to the passport size traveller's notebook from You Know Who. And it's encompassing my custom Atoma discbound binder. But this is the thing. I said that I would find a way to use this. I'm a bit of a paper-based productivity nerd, as you know, and that's no bad thing, but I like sharing with you my thought process. And I have been thinking about this for many days. How can I use this efficiently? It all stemmed from a chat I had with a channel member who said that he liked the disc-bound concept, but the problem was this. Let me show you this. The bigger the rings, so these are 18 internal diameter 18mm rings. I originally was using 15mm rings, and although there's only a small difference in internal diameter size, the difference in paper capacity is enormous. I mean, you can see that. That is, where are we? Where's the camera? There we go. I mean, it's huge, isn't it? So obviously that is something that is something worth thinking about, because if this is in a pocket, you're going to have some level of attrition. Particularly if it's in a jeans pocket, that is really going to be an encumbrance to paper-based efficiency. We can't have that. If there is a way of improving our productivity, especially with something like a notebook that you're getting in and out of your pocket several times a day, maybe several times an hour, then that's not good. And also I think it's worth talking about the general ambience of paper-based usage. It's got to be a pleasing thing, both to the eye and how we use it. It must have tactile qualities that elevate it from the digital equivalent by getting out our phone and checking our Apple Calendar or our Google Calendar. There must be some tactile pleasure from using either a disc-bound binder or a ring-bound binder, or even a bound book like a Moleskine or Moleskine. It's got to be a pleasant experience to use. There mustn't, if there are any hindrances to that process, i.e. in this case getting it in and out of your pocket, then that's worth addressing. So I was thinking about this. I was thinking about what my channel member was saying, and I agree with him. And I've been racking my brains, and I have experimented with having a let me just show you this. I don't know whether I can see it. Will it work? I think so. I was thinking about using my newly acquired Danes and Hathaway binder, because it's got a vertical pocket here, and on the other side it's got a vertical pocket here. But the thing is, when I was experimenting with it, I discovered that if you remove these rings and then have the way you would have like a Moleskine notebook cover, you would fit one slot here, and then the other side of the cover in here into typically a leather cover, and then you would open and shut it. But there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of movement in terms of the point at which the notebook bends. It doesn't have the same radius as the leather outer cover, and so there's an element of the paper. Let me just demonstrate here. So you've got this, just imagine you've got this cover here, and then you've got another one on the other side. As you open it, there's a considerable amount of friction here. Not friction, but it just moves in and out. And it has been suggested that one way of resolving this is to just have a tighter fitting, stiffer card on one side and just secure it on one side only, in a similar way to how this insert, which came out of a mulberry binder, instead of having two of these stiff backing boards, it just has the one which slides into the pocket, the full length pocket, and then that's good enough. And it's similar to the Saffiano compact zip I showed you the other day in a video, where it is essentially the same thing. It's held one-sided. So in view of that, let me put this back on my shelf. In view of those experiments, over the last few days, a few weeks actually, I thought, how can I achieve that? How can I achieve a similar thing by one of these covers? I was going to buy a cover that is like this, but it has a full-length pocket here and a full-length pocket here. You've seen them online, and very, very nice. Ideal for moleskins and field notes. A lot of people into EDC use a leather cover like this, which has the two full-length pockets and then the notebook inserted inside. But it is slightly more difficult if you want to, instead of having a notebook, you have a ring binder, or in this case a disc binder. Difficult, very difficult. So I got thinking, and then I wouldn't say it's a eureka moment, because other people might disagree with me about whether this is a concept worth considering. But give me some rope here, and I want to explain something. So here we go. So here we have these fairly large 18mm discs, whereas I did start with these 15mm, but I ended up with the 18. I mean, I may change back, who knows, but for the purpose of experimentation, I quite like the extra capacity afforded by these rings. But I wanted to see initially whether it would work with these in terms of the cover, and I discovered, somewhat serendipitously, i.e. somewhat by pure accidents, that if I put this here and wrap it round, it fits. I mean, this is a slightly extended custom size that I prefer, which is 80 by 150mm. Although, interestingly, I'm tempted to go back to 80 by 140, which would perhaps work even better with this. But if I just lie this here and then wrap this over, and then I show you that, there we go, you can see the disc in there, and you can see that there is a certain amount of paper that I could add a little bit more paper to this, I'm sure. But if you look at the length of this cover, down here and then round the bend and all the way back, this size, purely by accident, is the perfect size, so long as you don't use tabs, and I don't use tabs. I just use this as a notebook. But the total length going round the corner here with these 18mm discs works very, very well. So this is the way I'm thinking. I just want to show you one thing. So we've got the elastic band on there, and you can buy these elastic bands, or you could use a rubber band, you know. But this, like this, in my humble opinion, and I have been trying this just like this. Take it in and out my pocket, jacket pocket, jeans pocket, although it's a bit tight for a jeans pocket, but I have got some cargo pants which have pockets that lend themselves to this sort of EDC package like this. But this does two things. In fact, it might do more than two things. And this is my theory. So let's run with it. So this works like this, and this can be fitted in the pocket, and I've tried it and it works, and it's good because it does two things. One is it protects your pocket from having the lining of the pocket snagging on these extra large discs. But also, crucially, and this is something I've noticed, this is one of the issues with it's not an issue if you keep on top of it, but inevitably this is replaceable and rebuildable and wearable. In other words, these covers gradually, there's wear and tear, and although these original, I haven't replaced them yet, they get a bit loose with the hole punches, the slots, the mushroom punches, if you like, and so inevitably I will need to replace it at some point, and the back one as well. Pages don't last that long because they are transient, but they do last at some point. If you're having a 12-month diary in here, then they will last 12 months. You need to protect them from this constant attrition if you take it in and out of a pocket each time. And so, for that reason, having let me just get it back into a camera shot. Having it like this works very, very well, just like this. And obviously, I've thought of many ways of fixing the actual discs in here in the same way that you would get a ring binder mechanism physically attached to the actual leather cover. But this works really, really well without any attachment, without any physical attachment. The rubber band is enough. And it came to me, not in a dream, like Moses. It actually came to me while I was just waking up and thinking about my coffee. And to be honest, that is a really, really good time. When I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, that is a good moment. I think about it. I think about the pleasure of the coffee I'm just about to taste, and I am perhaps at my most creative. I mean, I'm eulogising here, but you get my drift. So it came to me in a flash, in a moment, and I thought to myself, do I actually need to keep the binder inside, the disc-based binder, attached to the leather cover? This works fine. This works fine. What are the disadvantages of having it like this? Well, let's have a look. Are there any disadvantages? Okay. So you get it out of your pocket and you take the elastic off, which you might lose it, down the side of a seat on a train or something, but hopefully you won't. But there's a possibility you might lose that. So there we go. You put it on your wrist and you take it off, put it on your wrist. It's not really a big deal. So it's unlikely to be lost. So then you have this package, this system, like this, and you get a pen, and you are at the ready. You're ready to do some useful work. And then you open it. And clearly, this piece of leather has good flatability, which is something, as you know, I really, really go a bundle on. And so you've got a situation where it's sitting on the desk, and you're ready to open your. Let's see if I've got anything there. No, I haven't. So we are there, and you can write. You can turn it round. It's completely flat. It's very, very easy to do what you've got to do. But are there any disadvantages with having in this particular setup, just like this? Are there any disadvantages with having the leather cover not attached to the disc bound binder itself? I can't see anything. I cannot see how that would affect the efficiency of your note-taking setup. Everybody is different. But I can see one enormous advantage that I did not realise until I started using this like this. I mean, I'm using other things as well. I mean, I'm using different, I'm carrying and using different things. I mean, in the office, I've got access to all sorts of things here. But as you know, I'm using my mini executive with a pocket-sized diary. That's my main thing at the moment. But I'm also running in tandem with that a week on 2 pages in here as well, because I'm testing systems. But there is something that I am using frequently, and I never ever appreciated it before, how useful this opportunity is, and it's this. So, like many people, I have a slight problem with when I'm writing, the rings get in the way, and the bigger the rings or the bigger the discs, the more they do get in the way. So I'm writing like this, and it's difficult sometimes. And there is this issue if you're in an environment like a library or somewhere where people will be annoyed with you opening the rings on, say, a filofax, a ring-bound binder, so that you can take the paper out and then write on it and then put it back in. That is an issue, and also you need something to lean on if you do that. But my eureka moment was, and let's have a look at this again. My eureka moment is that I can easily take one of these pages out, which is virtually silent. Then I can move the binder out of the way, and then I can write like this. And I'll tell you what, I don't know whether you have come across this, but if you are writing with a binder, it's okay here because you're in the top half, because you are holding the binder with the palm of your hand, so that it doesn't move. But when you get down to here, let me see if I can replicate that. You can see that there's movement. As you're writing, the paper, excuse me, the paper is joggling up and down, which affects the writing. So that means you have to get your other hand and hold it and carry on writing. And I suspect it's because if you look under the microscope, the leather is made out of sort of fibres like this, all sorts of fibres. And if you look under the microscope with any sort of paper, there is some element of fibre. It's not a smooth glass-like surface. It's very undulating. And if you put a piece of paper on a piece of leather, particularly the flesh side of the leather, which is the rough side, and I don't really want to waste this. I don't really want to waste this paper by jottling on it, but it's okay like this. But when you get down to the point where your hand is no longer holding the paper, if you just press down and write, you will see something. I mean, it's obviously not rocket science, but I suddenly thought it was a miraculous thing that I don't know why I've never thought about this before, but I imagine on a microscopic scale, the leather is holding the undulations of the leather are holding the undulations of the paper such that it won't joggle. And so you can write here, you can get to the bottom of the page one-handed. That's the important thing, one-handed. And you can carry on writing like this. So I'm pretending to write here, and then the next line, and then the next line. And although the paper goes up and down because it's got some flex to it, where you're actually writing, crucially, at that point, it will not move. I don't want to sort of force the issue to disprove my point, but do you get my drift? You get my drift. That means that you save your hands, so you can use your hand for looking at your watch, or you might be on the phone to someone, listening to some notes, and then you're writing them down in your. So there is an element of there is a need sometimes to just write one-handed, and this whole thing about this piece of leather. Normally, you don't carry a piece of leather around with you. You don't carry something that. I mean, you might be able to lean on something, but a shiny surface of the table is not going to be ideal. But it's just the right size to write, whether it's a personal size filofax, or in this case, I'm using it as a leather notebook cover to my Atoma custom sized notebook. This works incredibly well. And then when you have finished writing, you can just put it back nice and silently. Now, bear in mind, I mean, I'm a fan of discbound binders, but I'm also a fan of filofax style binders as well. So it's not like I'm trying to win over you if you're not a disc bound binder enthusiast. But I'll tell you what, if you are and you are looking for some sort of leather cover for your disc bound binder, this completely loose could be it. And I think I paid about I'm recording this in February 2024, but I paid £13 for this, so it's it smells fantastic as well. So it seems to be very, very good quality, and a good budget alternative to the market leader in this regard. I believe this is passport size. Let's measure it. In metric, we're looking at 21 centimeters that way, and then vertically it is 14.8 centimeters that way. So I imagine that these are sort of pretty much a standard size, but I could be wrong. But the thing is, you could get yourself. I mean, this is I was just being lazy and buying this, but you could get an offcut cheaper than this from a leather seller, and because you don't need to do anything to it, in fact, it'll actually be better because you don't have these holes here. There's just a small possibility that when you're writing, your pen will go down that middle hole, but hopefully not. But you could easily get a piece of leather, and I would say if you did that and cut it to size, that system, that setup, just not being held in any other way other than there we go. I nearly lost the rubber band, but I've suddenly realised it's on my wrist. But that I would say is good enough. And certainly it's a bit of an epiphany for me. Sometimes I think of ideas and I'm churning them over in my head, and it just evolves. It just evolves if you think hard enough for long enough. And it's just one of those, it's a bit over the top to say it's a magical moment, but I really like this. I really like just the simplicity of a single piece of leather being held by a single elastic band. And, you know, if you go back to the Viking age, they weren't agonising over attaching the leather to the paper. They would probably have just had it as a wrap, just like this. But I think the 18mm discs work fantastically well with this. And if you've already got a traveller's notebook in passport, I believe these are passport size, but I'm not an expert. Let me know if I'm wrong. If you've got one already, just try it. Just try it with a disc-bound binder, and that disc-bound binder would only cost a small amount of money to buy or make. I cut this out of an A5 notebook, but then I purchased the larger 18mm. No, I didn't. These came from an old ARC notebook that I've had for about 12 years. I bought from Staples, so it's just an experiment. But these sizes are available, and the discs seem to be interchangeable as well. So I'm just really pleased with this. It's just a nice, useful, tactile EDC notebook that is sort of Moleskine size, but has the advantage, as we all know, of having repositionable pages. I'll leave it there because otherwise I'm waffling when it's coming up to nearly half an hour. But I was just keen on sharing this loose cover concept with you because it solves two problems. One is the attrition problem with getting one of these binders out of your pocket because of the rings, particularly larger rings like these. But secondly, having a piece of leather allows you to take a sheet out of your binder and write with one hand on top of a smooth surface, because the undulations of the leather surface and the paper surface sort of lock together microscopically just enough for you to write without the paper moving. So thanks very much for watching. Until my next video, goodbye.